Hey guys, what's up? Dingo Crikey here with another video giving New York Comic Con coverage, and this time discussing the first images we have of the upcoming Transformers Generations line, Titans Return. So, lots of cool stuff. Didn't really expect them to be revealing another Generations line so soon. You know, usually you'd expect them to switch it up every year, but we already know that the first few waves of the Generations figures in 2016 are going to be Combiner Wars with figures such as Wheeljack, Trailbreaker, and the Combaticons, but here Hasbro has given us a look at a different Generations line. Now, I don't know if this is going to run alongside Combiner Wars or if it's going to be taking the place of it, because I was kind of under the impression that Combiner Wars was going to go all the way through the year of 2016 and probably try to finish up a lot of the G1 combiners. But maybe second quarter 2016 we're going to see it be replaced with the Titans Return line. Don't really know at this point. We don't even know a release date. A lot of times people ask me about that. I don't think there has been an official release date for these guys. We'll probably have to wait like at least another month or so until we get some information on that. Anyways, the new line seems to be composed primarily of Headmaster characters, so without further ado, let's take a look at the images. So let's start with the Deluxe class, and first off, we have Hardhead. Right off the bat, his overall design and look is not terribly unconventional or anything, but is definitely different from that of the standard Combiner Wars Deluxe class figure. I would say he looks more like a cross between Combiner Wars and Thrilling 30. Going along with that, his proportions have an overall more muscular look. That's definitely cool, especially considering the character. I like the overall design of the arms. They have a blocky, more War for Cybertron look, which is something we don't see as often, and they help sell that tough guy look. While it looks like we'll be getting a really nice range of articulation in there, and maybe wrist swivel. I don't want to say for sure, but it looks like he might have that going on with his hands. That would definitely be a plus. Body's great. The overall design, the shape, the details, all of that is really, really nice. One of the things I'm not really liking about the design is the legs, and they're not necessarily bad, but they're just incredibly bland looking to me. The design and the fact that they really don't have that many paint apps, which is something I feel as though the figure is lacking altogether, as we can see in basically the whole arms other than the Autobot symbols and the hands being green. They're pretty bland looking. The torso, has a few colors here and there, but I think it looks pretty good. It doesn't look like it needs a ton of colors in that area. Head sculpt's painted pretty nicely, but overall this guy definitely could use more colors. Detailing's really nice on him though. His weapons look pretty cool, though I'm not crazy about the one being green just because, it looks really toyish without any paint apps or anything. We can also see he has a number of hollow spaces on him, and that's something we dealt with in the Combiner Wars line, especially in RID, and looks like it's a problem Titans Return is going to have as well. So, that's pretty disappointing. As far as other things, though, I think he shapes up pretty good. He doesn't have a terrible amount of kibble. He does have that cannon over his shoulder, but I think that's acceptable kibble. It looks pretty cool. Overall design, like I said, looks pretty nice. Articulation looks good. So overall, I like the looks of this guy. He does have his problems, but looks like he should be a pretty cool figure from the robot mode. Then we have the vehicle mode. Looks like a Cybertronian tank, nothing really special about it. It is really low to the ground. I'm not sure I'm crazy about that, and the big detractor in this mode is probably just the lack of paint applications. Maybe you could say it's justified, because he's a tank, but I don't know, it looks pretty barren to me. It almost looks more like a prototype, and he just has a lot of Autobot symbols all throughout. Once again, designs, it's okay. The detailing is really, really cool in this mode. Gotta give it pros there. I don't think I like it as much as how it looks in the robot mode, but still cool. Overall, I think this figure looks decent to pretty cool. He has a lot of pros and a few cons here and there. So, moving on to the next one, we have Duros, who looks to form Hardhead's head. Not much I can say about this dude. Looks very stiff, very serious. Has a giant screw in his body, but, he's a little dude, so what are they going to really do with him? Next in the deluxe classes, we have Skull Cruncher. Overall design of this guy is, pretty plain looking, pretty reminiscent of a lot of the Combiner Wars figures. Obviously, he has some of those crocodile details, such as the scales and stuff, to differentiate him, but overall, kind of a bland look to him. As far as the arms go, they have a very plain look, which isn't necessarily bad, but I do think they're hurt a little bit by those crocodile feet sticking up, just because it will probably add unnecessary kibble, though we really can't tell much from this image by, the pose. We'll just have to wait and see. I do kind of like the details on his legs, but I don't really like his leg design in this image, mainly because of what we can see of his right leg. It just looks super hollow looking, and that's really bothering me. Now, I can say I like the head design. It's pretty cool looking. It's definitely a very unique face, having those big dark eyes and just, the whole shape of it, a larger forehead. Looks like one of those things we really haven't seen from G1, so kudos there. Body design is okay. Do kind of like those scale looking things on his belly. They kind of mirror the whole crocodile mode thing. And his upper chest does have some more paint applications, which is something else that this figure is totally void of in the rest of the body. And yeah, that's definitely a problem. With saying that, I should mention there are some figures that don't have a lot of paint applications and don't really look that bad. And then there are some that, look like they're missing a lot and they look horrible. I would say this guy's a little bit in between because he does have a unique color scheme, a kind of weird contrast. It doesn't look as obvious, but still, I think he could have used some tidbits here and there. Now, as far as the crocodile mode, okay, maybe this thing looks a little bit immobile and a little bit stiff, but seriously, this is pretty awesome looking. He has the scales going all the way down the back and those little spikes. That's really cool. Looks like he's going to have a big, thick tail. Those short legs, but they have those giant claws on them, and the crocodile head looks like the mouth will be able to open, but other than that, it just looks really cool. And the lack of paint applications doesn't look as bad in this mode, because, well, he's a crocodile. It doesn't make sense for him to have a ton, and I know the color scheme isn't completely realistic, but it does have a G1 feel, so it kind of has that going for it. And of course, this isn't Beast Wars, so they don't have to aim for total realism with the alternate modes, and I think this one scores. It's really, really cool looking. And for being a crocodile, it looks like he should have a fair amount of articulation in this mode as well. It looks like there are a few points in both the front and the back legs, so only better images will tell, but so far I think this crocodile mode does look pretty cool. Figure overall, though, can't really say the same for that. Before we finish him up, we should talk about his little head dude, and his name is Grax. Not really much to say here. I do like him a little bit better than Duros. Feel like he has a little bit more character, like the head sculpt, but another dude with a giant screw in his body. Next, we move on to the Legends class figures, beginning with Rewind. And at an initial glance, this guy's looking pretty cool. The color scheme is great. It definitely stands out, something we don't really see that often. I think all the colors work together really nicely in here, just nice contrast. Not even a bad amount of paint applications. Maybe could have used some more in the lower arms, but we could see on the sides of his legs he has some, his shoulders, his body, and once again, I think black color schemes can get away with less paint applications a little bit better than something like bright green. I think they effectively gave him sort of a tough look with a bigger chest, skinnier waist. He even looks sort of muscular in the body. Also really like the guns, sort of a rifle looking thing. It's pretty cool. The only thing I really don't like in this mode is probably the lower arms and lower legs. They're not too bad, but I feel like the lower arms are a little bit cumbersome looking. With these smaller guys, they can't make them super complex, but I think it could have kind of benefited. And then the lower legs also look pretty blocky. I wish they would have just done something to maybe give him more of a heel in the back or something like that. Anyways, robot mode looks good. Then we have him in his cartridge mode, I guess you can call it, tape, something like that. It's cool looking. Not a whole lot to say there. Has sort of a retro tape painted on top. That looks pretty cool. As far as the next mode, we have sort of a little tank thing, and it's not too different, but the transformation here looks kind of cool and creative for what they did. I like how they're putting a lot of work into these little Legends figures. I'm going to have to think about picking up some of them. Next Legends class figure we have is called Stripes. I believe this is a repaint retool of one we've seen earlier. Nevertheless, it looks pretty cool. It definitely has a color scheme to stand out, and not just that, but the paint application, seeing he has stripes on the top of his body and then also on those fins on the back. For what they had to work with, it looks like they did a pretty cool job. I'm just not a big fan of these small four-legged characters. I always get reminded of the Universe 2.0 Ravage that came with Hound, and that was just a pretty awful toy. I just look at these and get the impression that you just try to move them and they start breaking apart and stuff. They have all these little flyaway pieces and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know, he does look kind of cool, but I do have some problems with these figures. Now, however, in cartridge mode, he looks great. Really like the stripe patterns, a lot of nice paint applications throughout, and you would not guess he's a little four-legged beastie bot. They did a really nice job of disguising him. Then his third mode looks to be some sort of a plane. Yeah, it looks kind of improvised, but not bad. Don't really have too much else to say about it. So next we move on to a new class called the Titan Masters. So it looks like these are basically the little guys who transform into the headmasters' heads. However, these figures look like they're probably going to be released individually, maybe in 2-packs or something of the sort. But it looks like they're going to have something aside from just this little minifigure, something to kind of go inside and operate, and we'll get to that in just a second here. Right now, looking at Crash Bash's basic form, it looks like they're doing what they can with the detailings to distinguish him, so I guess that's kind of cool. Now let's skip to the image of him in probably his more full form, and this is what I'm thinking is probably something you insert Crash Bash inside to make him this little T-Rex, because I'm really doubtful that he could actually transform into this, and we could see his arms improvising as the T-Rex's arms there. If my speculation's right, and this is indeed what they're doing, it's a pretty cool idea. Definitely a way to make these guys a lot more exciting than just little minifigures who turn into heads. Really liking the looks of it, and it's simplistic, but kind of in a good way. As far as this guy individually, T-Rex or dinosaur mode looks pretty cool. Not a ton of paint applications, but he's probably going to be a simple dude. Really like the head sculpt, the little arms, the whole design. Pretty cool looking. Then we're also getting an additional mode, which looks to be some sort of a pterodactyl. Don't like it as much as the T-Rex mode. Looks like he's, been eating too many fish or, whatever pterodactyls ate. But, it's cool that they gave him the additional mode. Then we have him in head mode, probably without the additional gear. Unique head sculpt, nice design choices. Kind of a punchable look on his face, but, you need jerks, more variety in characters, so that's pretty cool. Really curious to see as to whether or not to have a figure to go along with this, or they're just going to be releasing these heads individually, or maybe they're not even packs. Maybe they're just releasing these images of the little guys earlier because they have them done, but we'll have to see what they're doing there. Next we move on to a character called Loudmouth. So far, this is probably my least favorite of the minifigure forms. Just kind of tubby looking and kind of boring. But then we have his additional modes, which also don't really look that great. I guess this first one's supposed to be sort of a boat. It's kind of cool. They definitely gave him a lot of room for a seat in there, but yeah, not really much to say about it. Next, we have his third mode, and I really have no idea what this is. Little bass? Something like that? I guess it's kind of cool, but yeah, let's move on to the head. The head sculpt for this guy is also a little bit bland looking. Once again, a lot of the other heads we've had so far kind of have more character to them, so you might need a guy like this. Next, we have Nightbeat, and it is kind of surprising to me that they would call this minifigure Nightbeat rather than, the full form. But, he does have Nightbeat's color scheme, kind of a plain look to him, but, kind of cool. Once again, unique detailing to differentiate him from the rest of them. As far as his alternate modes, first one looks to be some sort of a driller, and this thing's pretty cool. Compact thing with the treads on the side, drill in the front. Looks like it's done pretty nicely. We also have sort of a bump in the back of the vehicle, which I believe is going to be Nightbeat attached, so it looks pretty cool. Do like the colors. Then we have his second alternate mode. This looks pretty improvised. Not sure if it's like a half jet, half tank. I guess that's what they were going for, but yeah, this one definitely looks like it was the afterthought. Moving on to his head, it definitely has character. Not sure if I like this head for Nightbeat. Isn't he usually supposed to have a visor too? But, it's kind of cool. Definitely adds variety to the rest of them. Then we have the last of them called Terrible. Here's his minifigure form, if you want to look at it. It's kind of cool, unique, but really not that much to say about it. As far as his alternate modes, the first one is some sort of a tank. Despite the fact that this one's really low on colors, they didn't even, paint the treads. I think the design's really cool. Small, compact, with 4 different guns in the front. Really, really nice. Intimidating for such a small vehicle as well. I do like that gold on top, even if it's the only additional color we have. Looks nice. Then we have his third alternate mode, which looks to be some sort of a flying craft. I think this one pulls it off a little bit better than Nightbeat with flipping the treads around, and even the front I think just looks a lot better. It is pretty bland when it comes to colors, but it does have a lot of details all throughout, and overall I think the design is pretty cool looking. Then we have him in head mode, and I really like the looks of this. For one thing, he's a dude with a faceplate, which not many of these other heads have, but I just think he has a very unique look to his face, and it's something I'm happy that they're doing with these headmasters, is giving the heads unique presence to them. Since it's probably one of the big points of the line, I guess they have to do it, but I think they're doing it pretty well. Like the detailing around the eyes, the color scheme, just the stuff around the face also looks pretty cool. So Terrible's not the most exciting looking in minifigure form, but the head does look pretty cool. Okay, now we move on to Voyager class figures, and some of these guys are pretty exciting. As first up, we have Voyager class Galvatron, something we've all been waiting for basically since the Classics line started. Kind of got one in 2008. Obviously, it was a pretty awful Galvatron, and man, I think this one pretty much makes up for it. It doesn't look perfect, but it is looking pretty cool from these initial images. For one thing, the overall design just, it looks very Galvatron-esque. He still has a little bit more kibble than I would like. I mean, it's a huge improvement over the Universe 2.0 version, don't get me wrong, but under the arms, the treads do kind of throw it off, and some of that back stuff, shoulder kibble as well. Shoulder stuff, doesn't look too bad. Shoulder pads are kind of cool, but yeah, it might have a little bit too much kibble for Galvatron, but really, I think the figure's good qualities outweigh it. The legs look, well, very Galvatron-esque, like how they gave him more of a rounded look, though you can see in the back, they're probably hollow, as the case with a lot of these guys, but from the front they do look really cool, like the paint they used on the 2 layers of the knees. Really, really nice that they added those touches. The body looks like great, has a very buff, strong Galvatron look and posing, as with the head sculpt, the whole crown on top. Very intimidating look. Arms are also pretty cool. Yeah, they are kind of hollow, but other than that, they look nice. Not a ton of paint on them, but I don't think Galvatron needs them so much. With a guy like him, they're probably going to aim to be very G1 accurate. Still, maybe they could have added a little bit more, sort of like Energon Galvatron had, maybe take some hints from that. I don't think anyone would have complain too much. They definitely gave him more little details here and there than the original Galvatron design had, but I'm not going to fault him for it. It looks nice. It looks like they kept with the theme overall. Maybe in the legs some of the stuff looks a little bit out of place, but overall I think it looks pretty nice. Then we have the cannon, and man, big awesome looking cannon. Nice translucent plastic, as we would expect on Galvatron. All of the little details throughout, giving it sort of a crystally look, is really cool. Even the non-firing part of the cannon looks nice. We have gray, red, and purple all in there. So, looks like they did a pretty nice job on that. Overall, I think this robot mode looks really nice. I could see a justification for more paint applications, as there is a lot of purple in him, but this is Galvatron, so probably should be used to that. Main thing I'm not really liking here is a little bit too much kibble, but let's see how it works out for the other modes. Cannon mode first, right off the bat. Really liking the looks of it. I mean, okay, we don't really see that many dudes who turn into cannons, so it's exciting when we get one, but this looks like Galvatron. I mean, he does look like he's going to have some more kibble, especially the back piece extending out that far might be considered kibble, but really I don't think it looks that bad. It's very reminiscent of G1. It's a very unique design, and it looks pretty intimidating as well. Altogether, we haven't seen Galvatron as a cannon in such a long time that, this is pretty exciting. I mean, I guess you could also say he's sort of a tank, but I think he's going to work a lot better as a cannon. It looks like he also has a lower gun beneath the big clear orange cannon blaster. At least I would think that's another blaster. That looks like a kind of cool addition as well. A lot of purple in this mode. It seems to show even more so. That may be kind of a drawback, but overall I think this cannon mode looks fabulous. Then we have his third mode. I guess this is a jet. Makes sense, you want him to be able to get around a little bit better, but it does look like the third mode. Not as bad as some other, third improvised modes we had, but definitely looks pretty clunky in the back there. The front of the jet looks really cool though. Cockpit area looks nice as well. We should be able to add the little Titan Master in there. So, like the looks of him. Then we have his Titan Master. Now I know this thing has another name, but obviously it looks a lot like G1 Megatron. I guess that's kind of cool. Megatron is Galvatron's head. I can go for that. They did a pretty nice job of making this guy resemble G1 Megatron as well. So overall, I think Galvatron looks great. Is definitely one I would like to pick up, and I would definitely plan on reviewing him when he comes out. Next, we have Voyager class Sentinel Prime. And can't say this is the most extraordinary complex looking guy, but man, this just looks like a really solid figure. No pun intended to the hollowness that these guys usually have, but from this image he looks really good. Proportions look nice. The detailing on him is really cool. Kind of gives that Prime-ish look to him, which, is cool. Didn't really know too much about this guy, obviously the previous versions of Sentinel Prime, but, this comic version appears to be unique. I thought I've heard some people don't really like him in the comics. I think that'd be interesting. I like when they make figures of those more controversial characters. It's always fun to have them in the collection. Other than that, though, body design is really nice looking. Leg design, really cool. Arms, maybe lacking in a little bit of paint, but the shoulders look nice. Head sculpt is really cool. Has sort of an Optimus-ish look to it, but is definitely, a unique character. The color scheme altogether is one that I really like. Once again, sort of like with Skullcruncher, one that we really don't see that often. Big orange guy, that's pretty cool, with shades of yellow and red thrown in there. I think they did a nice job of balancing it out, at least from the way these images look. Maybe it will look a little bit too loud in the actual figure, but looks pretty nice here. As far as kibble goes, I mean, it looks like he's going to be sort of a backformer, as a lot of jet transformers are, but it seems like he's going to do something kind of unique with it. So let's get into the vehicle modes. First mode is a space shuttle, and This has a pretty grand presence to it. Overall look is really nice. He does have those arms on the sides. It might initially look like it takes away, but he does have those little turrets on the side of his arms and that the hands flip in. It kind of helps, disguise it and make it seem a little bit more natural. Other than that, I think the design for this mode looks great. Once again, a very solid look to it. The only thing I'm really not liking, other than, the slightly obvious arms, is probably the fact that he looks pretty absent of colors. Now, I could understand them wanting the top of the jet to look pretty uniform, but like in the cockpit area, I really wish they would have done something else there and just added some things like the edges of the wings, the rims. I mean, they could have done something with that. It does look kind of bland in that aspect, but overall, it's a pretty solid looking mode. Then we have his third mode, and this doesn't look like a third wheel. This looks like it was done very nicely and very intentional. Looks like a giant Cybertronian battle train, and I think they get the theme off quite effectively. A lot of times, we'll have parts of the robot mode hanging out. It will just look kind of lanky and ugly. This looks pretty nice from these images, and the parts from the other mode look pretty well hidden. You can see some stuff, but I think it works in pretty well. I like the shape, the overall design, even the front looks kind of like the front of a train, so that's pretty cool. Thinking this guy overall just looks like a very, very cool figure. All three modes look like they were done nicely. None of them really seem to get in the way of the others too badly. The only sin here would be if this mold isn't repainted as Astro Train, which I know a lot of people have already been going on about this, but yeah, this thing has to be Astro Train. I mean, it looks like it was made more for Astro Train than Sentinel Prime, so wouldn't even be surprised if that was the original intention. Anyways, really, really excited about this figure. Then we have Sentinel Prime's little head dude, which I believe is called Infinitus or something like that. Not too much to say about him, sort of looks like mini Sentinel Prime. So let's move on to the last one, and it's our 1 liter class figure. That is Blaster. And I have mixed feelings on this guy. I mean, looking at G1 accuracy, he does look like he does a pretty good job. Definitely better than some of the blasters we had in the past. This may actually be sort of a rectifying figure. However, he looks way too blocky in my opinion. Like, I know he's supposed to be a blockier guy, but I think they might have overdone it a little bit much, because he's so simplistic looking to begin with, and he's going to be big and just very, very square looking. They could just call this guy like the Big Red Block or something. I mean, it's hard to believe that Revenge of the Fallen Optimus Prime was also a leader class. I mean, whoa. Okay, getting away from that though. Overall design, like I said, it's blocky, but it does look like Blaster. And it should have a good amount of articulation, but, coming back to it, it looks like it'll be a little bit prohibited just by how blocky the rest of him is. Now, this is definitely pretty evident in the legs and the arms. However, I really do like the design of the lower legs. A very unique look to them, kind of that radio detail and that kind of stuff. It looks like he is going to have stickers. Don't really have a problem with that. Some mixed thoughts on stickers, but they definitely work cool on the Bionicle 2015 figures and some of the other recent Transformers. But I do like his leg design. Arm design's very bland looking. Body design's cool. It's Blaster Soundwave body. What can I say? Like the head sculpt, definitely gives Blaster vibes. And as with the other guys, it's unique and, that's always a plus. The color scheme, it isn't one of my personal favorites, but, it's one that Blaster has to have, and it looks like they've pulled it off pretty well, though some parts, they definitely look pretty barren of colors. So, let's move on to Blaster's alternate modes, and first we have his stereo system / tape player mode. And I've got to say, overall, I really like the way this thing looks. Now, I do got to say, aesthetically, it looks a little bit weird at this angle. And that's because the tape player or stereo system is so long overall, and it's really flat looking. I just feel as though he should have a little bit more bulk, but other than that, I think he looks solid. I really like the giant speakers on the sides, which are going to be pretty big considering, this guy is a leader class figure. The details we have in the front, and then also all throughout the speakers, and the handle is certainly a nice addition as well. Kind of don't like that flat aesthetic, but other than that, it looks like they've kind of nailed Blaster, especially since they have him as a leader class figure, which to those of us who watch the cartoon, that might not initially make sense, and maybe you still want someone a little bit smaller, but the original G1 toy of Blaster was a pretty big dude, so in that way it's cool. But if you're still looking for G1 show accuracy, I mean, I'm sure we're bound to get something else down the line pretty soon. I mean, we did have the War for Cybertron one a little while back, too. Now we're getting this. They'll probably be remaking Blaster, within the next few years or so anyways. So next, we move on to his third and final mode, and this looks to be a battle station. It looks kind of obvious that it's a robot. You can kind of see the arms there. But other than that, this looks really cool to me. It's been a long time since we've seen a good-looking one of these, kind of like Black Convoy had in car robots or robots in disguise. And this guy almost has a nicer layout because it's all so compact. And then, he has those platforms for the Titan Masters to stand on. And the platform from his left leg looks as though it even has some paint applications in there. So that's pretty cool. A lot of weapons in there. That also looks nice, especially that overhead one. And it looks like he's going to be able to deploy minicons while in this mode. And just really, really cool looking. Despite the fact that it looks as though this new line is going to carry on some flaws of Combiner Wars, it has some pretty cool third alternate modes, which is something we usually don't get. I mean, they don't look perfect, but usually they're pretty awful looking. Ones like Sentinel Prime and for this guy, they look really cool from what we can see. And then the last guy we have is Blaster's Titan Master, and he looks to be Blaster, simply, all the way down to the details on the legs, up to the head sculpt. Looks a lot like Blaster, with a lot less paint and a giant screw in his body. I guess that's kind of cool. I mean, Blaster isn't really supposed to be a headmaster, so this is sort of filler, but a little bit of an anticlimactic way to end, but that's all I have for my commentary on the Titans Returns figures. Overall, it looks as though the line is going to still have some of the flaws that we're used to seeing with a lot of new Transformers figures. Doesn't look as though it's improving a lot of them. However, it does have some other new cool features that should really assist the line, at least being interesting for a while. So the line doesn't look as good as, say, a lot of Revenge of the Fallen's figures, but I mean, it definitely looks better than the Robots in Disguise toy line. But ultimately, we'll have to see how it pans out, and those are just my thoughts on it at this point. If you have your own thoughts, drop them off in the comments section below. Regards to the new figures, you love them, do you hate them, better, worse than Combiner Wars? Drop off your thoughts along with any topic suggestions you have for future commentary videos, such as this one, or could deal with Transformers 5, Robots in Disguise cartoon, whatever it might be, anything Transformers related. I'm sorry I'm getting this video uploaded a little bit late. I mean, these images have already been on the internet for a few weeks now, but I still wanted to give my thoughts on them. And if you were interested in more commentary and news on this Transformers toy line or other Transformers media, be sure to keep up with the channel. I'm trying to upload videos Monday through Friday and at least do 3 videos for a week, so we'll see how that goes. And that's all I have to say for now. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, and have a good one, guys. I'll see you soon.